Everybody, today I will tell you about the first 6 episodes of the anime Life Without Weapons. Juzo Inui is a veteran of the Great War who works as a private detective and solves the problem of extents for money. Although sometimes he helps just like that if his friends ask him. Inui is also an extent, or rather his kind is called super extends because instead of his head he has a revolver. And the rest of his body has been replaced. He hates children and moisture and also loves a certain brand of cigarettes and smokes them without stops. Inui finds out about the abduction of a child by the extent and sees a girl in a monk's robe at the scene. When he returns to the office, the kidnapper is already here. He asks to protect the abducted child. When the security bureau staff come to the abducted child, when the security bureau staff come to the office on the extent, leads the surveillance away from him. Juzo calls his friend, arranges for shelter, and then carries the boy to her inn on the way to the laboratory. He meets the same nun from the street. She declares that this child is from their orphanage, but Juzo does not believe because the tendons are cut and an unauthorized extension is installed at this moment. It turns out that the monastic robe was just a cover for the militant of the Berlin Corporation. The mercenary attacks Inui, but the extent that stole the boy comes to his rescue. The girl seriously injures him, and the child is under threat of destruction. Then Inui gives it away and gets a bullet in the back of the head. However, he does not die when he wakes up. He learns from the extension that the boy's name is Tetsura Arahabaki. Experiments were performed on him. An extension called Harmony was built into his body. Tetsura is able to bend other extents to his will to move into them and control them, so he captured this body and escaped. However, Tetsura can destroy Berlin with his existence, so they want to return him or kill him. When the extent dies, Inui goes in search of the boy. He tracks the train in which he is being taken and stops him with the help of one of his abilities, taking the boy away. Judza learns from the news that Tetsura is not an easy orphan. He is the son of the CEO Berlin, meanwhile, representative of the corporation, hushed up the crash of their own train, writing it off as a terrorist attack by the Svalbard group. They oppose the installation of extensions into human bodies. Inui brings Tetsura to Mary. She helps extenders get rid of bugs in the equipment and changes spare parts for them. Mary wants to dig into Tetsura's additional brain to learn more about its expansion. An additional brain helps to control the forces of the extension. Zuzu leaves Tetsura at Mary's and goes in search of cigarettes for some reason. The brand that he constantly bought disappeared from the shelves of stores, and when Inui found the last pack in a street kiosk, the police grabbed him and took him to a doorway where Hugh Cunningham, the head of the security service Berlin, was waiting for him. Cunningham had a whole box of cigarettes for Inui in return. He wanted to get Tetsura, but Juzo was not going to make a deal. Cunningham mistakenly believed that the lack of cigarettes that extenders needed to maintain the normal operation of extensions weakened Inui. Well, he was wrong. Juzo dealt with Cunningham's guards and drove him away. He took the smoke with him. Mary came to Inui as support. She even neutralized one sniper who was supposed to shoot at Juzo. Mary said that Tetsura woke up. Instead of crippled hands and feet, Mary installed Tetsura a kind of exoskeleton. She also conjured with his vocal cords so that he could speak. All these injuries were needed by Berlin. To activate Harmony, Tetsura had to want to use another extend to start walking and talking again, which is why he was crippled. While it is difficult for him to use the improvements installed by Mary, so Juzo gives him a robotic head through which Tetsura can talk. Representatives of one of the local banks controlling the slums of Kyusei come to Mary's office. They say that the disappearance of children has become more frequent recently. They are stolen, their prostheses are taken away from them and hung out. Then the bandits ask Judza to help and find the culprits, but he refuses. He understands that it is Berlin who leaves him a message: they need Tetsura, and until they receive it, the attack on children will continue. After learning about this, Tetsura uses Harmony to capture Juzo's body and goes to the slums to look for an extender attacking children. Tetsura takes his body with him. He throws it into a basket and drags it behind his back so that less attention is paid to him. He puts a bag on his head. In the slums, Tetsura meets 2 girls, Endo, and then they are being chased by a representative of the Kyusei gang. Tetsura neutralizes him, thinking that he takes the body parts of the extend children. But it turns out that the girls are the monsters that attack the children. Endo turns into a kind of spider and attacks Judza. His body withstands the blows of the girl. But the additional brain of Enda herself begins to malfunction. She loses control over herself, and only manages to calm her friend at this moment Kanenjum appears, and it turns out that he sent them here, but the girls did not cope with the task, which means they are no longer needed by Berilan. He wants to deal with them, but then Tatsura appears in the body of Juza and stands up, for they saw that Juza Anhui was in front of him. Kanenjum orders an Enda to deal with him. Endo turns into a monster and attacks Inui, but she can't finish him off. Then Cunningham shoots her with a drug that turns off the brain, and Endo loses self-control. She turns into an uncontrollable extend and begins to destroy everything Cunningham just leaves. He decides to take Tetsu's body with a rap when it's enough to annoy Juza now while Tatsura is in front of him. He's not interested in taking him so easily. The boy ceases to control Juza, his extra. Brain overheated from trying to subdue Super Extend, and dies, and there is no one else to stop Ende. Then Tetsura tries to use the remnants of his strength to take control of at least one of the girl's tentacles. He wants to damage her brain with these tentacles, but Enda attacks him. However, she does not succeed in killing Tetsura. Juza stands up. To defend him, having repelled Enda's attacks, he tries to take the boy away, but he resists more. I don't intend to hide. Then Juza goes with him. In the elevator, Endo catches up with them. You can only kill her with Inui's revolver, but he does not allow anyone to pull the trigger. He must really trust a person so that he can shoot. However, now he has no choice. He has to trust Tetsura. The boy shoots, and the expansion of the Enda blows to shreds. The shot turns out to be so powerful that he is noticed in all parts of the city. Olivia, the director of the Department for Work with Extensions, sees the shot, and she understands that it was Juza who lit up for Inui ridding the slums of the Enda. The locals repaired the window in his office and gave, while Tetsura and Mary are reaping the fruits of Inui's work. Juza goes to an old barber named Gosling to polish his revolver to shine after a recent shot. In the doorway, Inui sees two policemen trying to spoil Gosling's daughter Scarlet. Judza drives them away and notices how the girl is timid at his appearance. She is secretly in love with him, barely restrains her feelings while the old man was polishing Inui's revolver. Olivia appeared with armed guards and arrested Judza for a recent shot. She also takes Scarlet with her father and Mary from Tetsura. They are being taken in a separate car. Nao is with Olivia. She knows that Juza and his friends are being hunted by Beryl, and so she took them with her to hide them from this corporation. In return, Olivia wants Inui to complete one task recently. Prisoners of Extents who were transported to Birulin by the Department for Work with Extents for Experiments were attacked. They all escaped if the supply of prisoners stops Berylin. They will stop giving out corsets to the department that help catch extenders, so we need to find the person who attacked the management car and also catch the fugitives. 5 prisoners have already been found. 2 are still on the run. 1 is on the run. The escapee appeared at the moment when Olivia was telling all this. He attacked the convoy and destroyed the guards. Then he tried to kill Judd's friends, and he already wanted to stand up for them, but Olivia Cronin's colleague appeared and neutralized the fugitive by throwing poisoned needles at him. Noticing Judd, Cronin said that they did not need a super extent to catch the last of the escaped prisoner. However, Olivia is sure that they cannot do without Inui, because the 7th fugitive, Hayden Gondry, is very strong and bloodthirsty. Gondry killed his colleagues, for which he was detained and placed in Vanderbender in a prison for extenders since the escape. Gondry has killed 3 people unrelated to each other, at least at first glance. First of all, Juza goes to the mansion of one of the victims of Gondria. Here he encounters Kronos, who was waiting for the killer in a short fight. Wins and Cronin's needles did not affect him. And when they ended, Cronin's needles did not affect him. And when they ended, Cronin decided to stop. Judza asks the opponent to take him to the next victim. He found a connection between the dead. They were all the first to undergo the expansion procedure. They became the first extenders, and now Gondry is hunting for Mega. Art, he himself was among those who were modified before the others. Mega Art Takisada is a war hero and everyone's favorite. He completely redesigned his body, and thanks to this, thousands of other extents got the opportunity to modernize because Takisada tested the technology on himself. They are even going to install a statue in his honor this evening. Arndt went to the park to look at this statue before its official opening. Izyudza and Cronin went there at the entrance to the park. Mega Art is waiting for a crowd of fans. In this crowd, Juzo saw a little girl with flowers, but she was not afraid of him, and this surprised Inui when Mega Art appears. An Extent jumps out of the crowd, but he is caught by Juzo. He thinks that this is Gondry, but the attacker turns out to be an ordinary Extent. Meanwhile, Mega Art disappeared into the room, taking with him a girl who decided to give him flowers, transformed into Gondry, and killed the guards.